The Trans-Pacific Partnership deal was officially finalized by the United States and 11 other countries, such as human rights violators like Malaysia, who has child slaves, as well as Brunei, who just recently implemented Sharia law in 2014. Now, this is definitely a win for both President Obama's corporate donors and the corporate donors of the Republican Party. Now, this is also a win for many corporatist Democrats as well. So, still, it's not official law yet. It still has to be approved by Congress. But that is very likely due to the fast track bill because they can't do amendments. It's just an up or down vote. Now, here's what Bernie Sanders had to say about this. This is a quote, "victory for Wall Street and other big corporations." Now, he elaborated on why he's against it in more details a few months ago on the Senate floor. So I'm going to show you guys that video.
Why would an American corporation invest in this country, pay American workers 15, 18, 20 bucks an hour, provide health care, have to obey environmental regulations, deal with trade unions, when they can go abroad, pay people pennies an hour, not have to worry about the environment? That is, of course, what has happened. These trade agreements have failed. TPP is based on the same principles. It will be another failure. We should reject it for that reason.
Hillary Clinton also came out against the TPP recently. She states, quote, "As of today, I am not in favor of what I have learned about it. I have said from the very beginning that we had to have a trade agreement that would create good American jobs, raise wages, and advance our national security, and I still believe that is the high bar we have to meet." Now, let's not be naive. There's 45 different instances where she actually pushed for the Trans-Pacific Partnership while she was the Secretary of State. Now, the reason why she's coming out against this is not because she actually disagrees with the TPP. It's because she thinks this is going to help her win and look better among progressives who are now rallying behind Bernie Sanders. And furthermore, she didn't unequivocally condemn free trade in general, or so-called free trade. She basically just said, this deal, I don't really like this deal. But if she had done what Bernie Sanders did, where you actually condemn free trade deals in general, then maybe I would believe her. But I think that this time she's just outright lying. So I don't believe her at all. I think she actually likes the TPP. Now, to go into a bit more details as to why the TPP is harmful, well, I'll tell you, it's pretty scary. So now this would disproportionately benefit the pharmaceutical industry because according to Vox, this would limit competition and boost drug prices, which would cost thousands of lives. Now, Vox continues. International investors have pushed for an investor-state dispute settlement process that allows private investors to challenge foreign government policies before an impartial arbitration panel, a process critics such as Senator Warren describe as a threat to American sovereignty. So now, Vox is actually factually incorrect when they say that this arbitration panel is impartial. That's not the case. The individuals who are deciding who arbitrates the conflict are, of course, multinational corporations. So let me give you an example. If an oil company wants to sue a country for imposing higher environmental standards, well, they can do so as long as they argue that the country in question is violating the TPP. And of course, the arbitration panel is going to side with their corporate buddies. So it's not an impartial panel. Let's get that straight. Now, furthermore, this trade deal, along with other trade deals, will have the same effect. It's going to ship countless American jobs overseas. Now, people argue and say, Mike, look, you're a humanist. So even though we lose some jobs here in America, well, someone in Malaysia will have a higher standard of living because our job went overseas. But the problem with that logic is that it's false. So all they do is they outsource jobs to these countries, such as Malaysia, where they have children slaves, because they can pay those child slaves pennies an hour, whereas they have to pay American workers minimum wage. So they're doing it to save money, and of course that doesn't help and improve the standard of living for the individuals wherein there is slave labor. They made this same argument with NAFTA in Mexico. They said that Mexicans will have a lot higher standard of living because of NAFTA, but as we've seen, that hasn't changed at all, and if anything, their standard of living has actually gotten worse. Not necessarily only because of NAFTA, there's other factors too, but it hasn't improved. Now, there is more to the bill, but you should know that we only know what we know about it thus far because of WikiLeaks. See, all the negotiations between President Obama and the other heads of states from other countries have all been conducted in private. All of these details are completely not open to even individuals within Congress. Now, think of the irony here. Before President Obama was elected, when he was a candidate, he stated that he would run the most transparent administration in the history of the U.S. And now, look. Yeah, not very transparent when you won't even let Congress see what's in this trade deal. So the bottom line is that this deal is absolutely harmful, and Bernie Sanders is right to rail against it. So now you need to do your part. You've got to call your representative. You've got to call your senator. You've got to tell them to vote against this harmful so-called free trade deal, because the consequences will be bad.